The Ohsweken Speedway takes center stage tonight on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. In this episode, we give you double the action with 2 hours and 3 classes in competition, including Ohsweken's stable sprint car division, the first appearance by the Big Block Modifieds, as well as our own familiar Go Nuclear late models. It's the Triple Crown Showdown, and it's coming up next.
Hello and welcome to the Atomic Power Racing Hour, here today north of the border at Ohsweken Speedway in Ontario, Canada. And we've got something a little different for you here this evening. Up until now, we've been focusing primarily on the Go Nuclear Late Model Series. And yes, they're here tonight at this 3/8 mile track, but also on the card this evening is a Super Dirt Car Series for the Big Block Modifieds and Sprint Cars. It's going to be quite a show. We added an extra hour to it to make it a 2-hour deal for you tonight. You're really going to like this. Let's check in with my broadcast partner, Rich Fleck.
Well, you know, over its 20-year history, the Ohsweken Speedway has seen it all. It's grown from a track that ran on Sunday afternoons to a speedway with some of the best lighting for Friday night action. Here in the middle of the week, we've got some unique classes with the late models invading this track for the first time. They're excited. The sprint cars that run here on a Friday night basis, they're excited for the extra anticipation. And of course, the big block drivers of the Super Dirt Car Series are in here tonight. And a lot of these drivers have never seen the track before as well. Shane Andrews has been here before. He's the announcer for the Super Dirt Car Series, and he's going to join us here tonight. Shane, you've never announced a race here before with this series, and I know a lot of the drivers are excited to set foot on the oval.
Oh, we're all excited to be here. You know, anytime we can get to a new racetrack and show our brand of racing with the Big Block Modified Super Dirt Car Series, it's exciting. We've got new fans that we're going to be in front of tonight, but the challenge is for the drivers out on the speedway. They're going to have to go to their notes. They're going to have to reach deep down in their pockets and think, what track reminds me of Ohsweken? It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a great one.
Now, in terms of the racing oval, there might be some that are similar, but far and few between are any as beautiful as this one. Of course, the race cars tonight will take center stage, and with 3 different classes, we send it over to the pits, and our Paul Small takes a look at the very different race cars that'll grace the Big O.
Horse racing's Triple Crown is 3 events all with the same horses. The Triple Crown here at Ohsweken, a little bit different. 1 race with 3 different types of race cars. This is what you're used to seeing here on the Atomic Power Racing Hour. The Go Nuclear Crate Late Models, powered by a Crate engine on Hoosier Racing tires, a full-bodied race car. Tonight, joined by the second element, which are the Core Pack 360 sprint cars native to the Ohsweken Speedway. These cars, open wheel, top wing, nose wing, fuel-injected engine capable of about 500 to 600 horsepower. They only weigh about 1,500 pounds. These are rockets. Now, the third part of this Triple Crown is the Super Dirt Car Series featuring these, the Northeastern Dirt Modifieds. These cars powered by a big block 467 cubic inch engine with a 4-barrel carburetor, and instead of a roof wing, these cars have very aerodynamic bodies that channel the air and force the car down on the racetrack.
Time trials would get the night started here at Ohsweken. All the divisions going. John Waters, the fastest in group number 1. He turned this tiny track in 16.572 seconds. Second group out there, Phil Potts. He's the fastest in this group, 16.670 for his lap time. Up ahead now to group 3. There's the car we just saw with Paul. Charlie Sandercock, fastest here, 16.504 second. Here are the Big Block Modifieds. Dale Plank, been residing in the North Country a lot lately, 15.729, driving Kerry Tarantz's number 66. Matt Williamson, a little bit of a surprise here in group number 2. His dad, of course, works with Bicknell race cars, and that's the kind of car he's driving right there. Billy Decker, former series champion, fastest in group number 3, 15.755 seconds for the driver out of Unadilla, New York. And then Brett Hearn, they call him the corporate jet. Brett Hearn fastest in group 4. The fields are now set, and we are ready to go. Qualifying heat races coming up next. Back here at the Ohsweken Speedway, where the sprint cars have a unique way to push off, they use a warm-up track. That sure saves plenty of time. Ohsweken announcer Clinton Jeffrey will be covering the on-track action tonight, and here is his perspective on this big event.
Here at Ohsweken Speedway, it was time to do something different. 3 of the top divisions on dirt all together in one show is going to bring us one heck of a program tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The track is the big question, though, today. Overcast all afternoon, rained a lot of the evening last night, put a lot of moisture down. Now the drivers are expecting a heavy track. The sun's out, it's really going to change things. This track will be 8 lanes wide tonight. You're going to see some amazing racing here on the Ohsweken clay.
First qualifying heat race takes to the track Stuart Friesen, Glenn Stiers. They'll battle for the lead here for 3 laps.
And it was 8 laps, and the real focus was getting up towards that top 2, and that was where the battle was at. Friesen down on the inside, first time in a sprint car here. Well, Stiers obviously the winningest driver in sprint car competition at the Big O.
And a note about Stuart Friesen, driving his wife Jessica's race car here for the first time at the Big O. So, you know, he has some very good notes to fall back on, as she is a former feature winner here.
And in fact, the last time that car was at the Ohsweken Speedway, it went to victory lane in the Canadian Nationals. You see Stiers make a pretty nifty slide job to get into the race lead, but Friesen was not to be denied. Put it down to the bottom, got back into the race lead, and he would start to cruise away and really start to stretch out his advantage all the way to the final lap. On that final lap, a helicopter lands in turn number 3, but it wouldn't stop the 1Z from flying around this speedway.
Well, you think you've seen everything in racing? Haven't seen that one before, but here comes Stuart Friesen with the win. Like we said, quite a story, as his wife is expecting their first child on Christmas Day, so he gets the win. Qualifying heat race number 2, Keith Dempster jumps in the lead in the number 5 car.
Yeah, former track champion, also a 2-time SOS champion out in front of the field. But it was a jingle mess down the backstretch for about 3rd to 4th, and that was good news for the 49 of Todd Hoddick. Put it up on the cushion and just let that black machine, you'll see him there about 6th in line up on the top of the speedway. Driver that has his first career win at Ohsweken earlier this season, leads the points coming in up on the top of the racetrack.
And you've got to go where the cars aren't, and everybody else is running down on the bottom and middle groove, so Hoddick, put it up on the cushion and let it ride.
Now the key was for him to get into the top 2 to make sure he got in the redraw. Another one of our double-duty drivers, Charlie Sandercock, on the inside of the racetrack, and it was Hoddick able to get around him for that position.
Hoddick running the nice line on the outside, and as you can see, there's just a couple of laps here to go as he tries to pull away. Meanwhile, Chris Steele tries to get a redraw spot away from Charlie Sandercock. Steele
not
in the 80.
Yeah, Steele not pulling double duty tonight, but does run a 358 modified at the Merrittville Speedway on Saturday nights. Travels around on Friday nights with his sprint car, but he would not be able to get by Sandercock as it was Dempster hanging on for the win.
Dempster gets the win. Let's check in and find out what our winning driver had to say about his performance in heat race number 2.
Yeah, it'll probably change a little bit. That cushion will probably move up a little bit, but I think it's going to stay there. Racetrack's pretty fast right now, so you know, for our feature, it'll probably still be still pretty good because the late models and them the modified run after us, so it'll pretty much be about the same.
Qualifying heat race number 3. Next to hit the track, Dr. Steve Collins in the 67 takes the lead early.
Steve Collins loves a hammer-down racetrack. He found that. He got out in front, and then there was his view out the back as he was driving away. But in the back of the field as they went into turn number 3, Kyle Patrick got a little top-heavy and a huge flip in turn number 3.
Just see where that front wing ended up. Actually left the speedway from what it looked like. That is a bad one.
And this was his first time at Ohsweken this season, going into turn number 3. Again, just kind of leaned over on the right-hand side, a little tight condition, and I'm not sure if a part broke, but that's a hard flip.
And it just goes to show how well these 360 sprint cars are built and how well the driver is contained as Kyle was able to walk away.
And tossed the front axle right out of the car. Gave the crowd a thumbs up there. Restart now. Collins jumps back in front. Dane Nida is back up to second place.
Yeah, Nida out of Michigan, a driver that travels in quite a ways to run on a weekly basis. It was rookie Lee Winger. Good name for a sprint car driver in the number 2.
I like
He's
that.
a former street stock champion at Ohsweken, but it was a former mini stock champion at the track. Mitch Brown in the number 10 put it down to the inside, got up to 3rd, into a redraw spot. But it was still Doc Steve Collins flying around the outside.
The flying physician, they call him. He's a family practice guy. You know, anything from broken arms to colds and everything in between. Steve Collins, let's hear what the doctor had to say about his win in Heat 3.
Yeah, that was about 8 good non-lifting laps. I maybe burped it a couple times out there, but the track's good and car's handling good. We got her dialed right in, and all I need to do is make a good draw for the feature, get started up there again.
That's all he needs to do. That's all any driver's looking to do. Qualifying heat race number 1 now for the Go Nuclear Late Model Series 3 qualifying heat races. Brandon Ford on the pole.
And Adam Turner to his outside. Just a whole different group of cars coming in together tonight. Some of the Tour regulars, some drivers that only run a few races here and there. John Waters, though, remember the quickest from the time trials. They invert 4, so he starts on the outside of row number 2 in that white 11.
Green flag is out. First lap underway for the Go Nuclear Late Models. First of 3 qualifying heat races.
And again, the main focus, get into that top 3 to make the redraw. And that's where Lee Gill has put his 125 down to the inside. Here comes Waters on the top of the racetrack.
Waters looking upstairs, and look at Gill on the bottom. 3 wide, they go for the lead.
Multi-groove track here, guys, to be able to put these late models any place you want. You can see everybody working the top, bottom, in the middle. Very racy racetrack here early on.
Yeah, no question about it. And again, a different element for these late models, not knowing this racetrack or how high to run. Maybe some drivers have been here in different cars before, like Glenn Steyers pulling triple duty tonight. He pushes up the racetrack, but we've got a battle for the race lead. Waters down to the inside, and he's got it.
Waters now out in front in the number 11. Gill chases him into corner number 3. You see Gill's car pushing just a little bit as he goes through. That might open up the inside for Adam Turner.
Adam Turner in that purple number 92 car has run a whole different mess of race cars. Has a win at Brighton earlier this year, his hometown racetrack. He hangs on to the 3rd and final redraw spot.
Well, you talk about Turner, his diversity with some different race cars. How about Lee Gill, the same, small block, big block modifieds. No stranger to going fast, and has done very well in these late models throughout his career.
That's right. He was the first ever Go Nuclear Late Model Series champion back in 2011. Got away from it for a few years, but he's back in the ride, and he's done quite well here in the early part of the season.
Regular runner on a weekly basis up at the big flat half mile as well up at Can-Am. And Adam Turner, similar bloodlines there, modified background as well. Oh, Glenn Steyer's problems here over in turn 2. We had a chance to talk because he's doing double duty. Let's talk to some of the guys about what it's like to run 2 race cars on one night.
So far, what I've planned to do is I got 2 helmets ready, so tear-off wise, I should be able to just jump in one car, grab my other helmet, jump in the other car. And I've never driven a late model before, so that's going to be a learning experience. And I've never driven a big block modified before, so that's another learning experience.
I think those are 2 different worlds. Maybe a little bit of gear selection kind of thing, but as far as setup-wise, I don't think that's really going to matter or change anything. So hopefully we can just bring our knowledge from what we do have here and past traveling different racetracks and be able to pull off a good win.
It wears you out, but it's not really too bad. Jessica's really good with the setup with the sprint car, so we'll just kind of let her call the shots on that, and then we'll work back and forth with Mike on the setup on the modified, and hopefully we can get them both dialed in. And just, it's one of those things, just try to stay hydrated, drink a lot of water and stuff, and then go sweat it out at the end of the night.
I like that right there. That's good. I like with the 2 helmets because then you'd have to restack tear-offs and everything. I like how ready to go he is. Shane?
And if you take a look at all 3 of those drivers, there's one thing they all have in common. They're all in fantastic shape to be able to wheel these race cars around. So to be able to go from race car to race car, you've got to be in great physical condition.
No question about it. They are underway. Steyer's back at the back of the field. John Waters in front, though, as he pulls away. And look at Luke Carlton, the 97C. He's up in that 3rd and final redraw spot. With all the cars qualifying tonight, that's the focus. Get to the top 3 in these Go Nuclear late model heats.
And, of course, a bad break there for Adam Turner as he falls back last lap now. And there's Glenn Steyers at the back of the pack trying to make things work after his early spin.
Yep, and battle for second now. Carlton to the inside of Lee Gill. It's going to be John Waters in this one, but Carlton makes a nice late run up into second.
Probably wishes he had another lap or 2. Lee Gill gets 3rd, Adam Turner 4th. And we will be back qualifying heat race number 1 complete. Back with more action with the Go Nuclear late models on the Atomic Power Racing Hour.
and gentlemen, you came looking for a show. Well, here you go.
It's the 11th annual Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, coming September 18th to 19th to the Ohsweken Speedway, an event with incredible car counts, legendary names steeped in history. Friday night, the action-packed Burger Barn night before the Nationals. Saturday, the $12,000 to win A-Main. Don't miss Canada's biggest sprint car race.
Let's end all the anticipation as we bring to you the feature presentation.
The Go Nuclear Late Model Challenge Series is presented by Excel Tower Service, Atomic Chassis, Humber Nurseries, Deer Haven Victory, Grills and Ovens, Hensinger Performance, Gillies Napa, Dibbits Excavating, BA Custom Headers, SUNY Canton, C. Smith Automotive Machine Shop, McDonald Homes, Trick Race Parts, HVH Super Suckers, and Tenace Music Systems.
Welcome back to Ohsweken Speedway, north of the border in Ontario, Canada. The Go Nuclear Late Models on the track, part of the Atomic Power Racing Hour big show with 3 divisions tonight. This is qualifying heat number 2 for the late models.
We got local Rob Pitts and Dale Caswell up near the front, Kyle Sopaz and Phil Potts up there, and then some other drivers towards the back again that struggled during time trials. They're going to have to move their way forward.
Top 3 is where you want to be. That's how you get to draw for an upfront starting spot, and we are under green.
Rob Pitts is actually a former sportsman champion when they used to run them weekly here on Friday nights at the Ohsweken Speedway back in 2002, though. That's going back a ways, and he's got the race lead. Caswell down to the bottom.
Caswell, well, that's where he likes to be, down on the inside of the racetrack. Caswell takes the lead, but he's got some folks right there with him.
Well, 2002 may have been a long time ago, Rich, but he has a lot of laps on this place and knows it like the back of his hand.
Well, and you know he circled this race and wanted it. Not only did he run the sportsman here back around 2000, 2002, but then he transferred into a sprint car and ran weekly with that as well. So Rob Pitts knows this racetrack. He runs in second. Kyle Sopaz, T-Rex down in third in that number 12 car. A number of drivers here tonight from the Brighton Speedway, just kind of the east side of Toronto. So not a terrible drive for them to get here, but for so many, like Sopaz, the first time here at Ohsweken.
And, of course, Potts, you see him there in the number 29. That's the guy who needs to get going as we watch this battle for second place. Top 3 get the draw. I like that T-Rex. Sopaz down on the inside will take the spot away from Pitts.
Yeah, Sopaz has done a nice job to start off his 2015 season. 4th in points weekly at Brighton, including 1 win.
Potts back there, you see he'd love to get a spot here and get his way past the 2002 Ohsweken Speedway Sportsman Champion. And that time Pitts got it a little bit loose. That might open the inside. Heavy contact.
A little payback there, too.
Pitts goes sliding through the infield and brings it to a stop. Yellow flag will fly, and we are under caution with 3 laps remaining. Rob Pitts around, and we'll have to go to the back.
Wondered where he was going to go there for a second. Let's watch what happens here, as this is pretty heavy contact on the front straightaway.
I don't know, it just looked like Potts drifted up the racetrack, and Pitts got crossed up and then went diving through the infield, had to slam on the brakes, and that's not a spot that a cameraman wants to be.
No. It looked like after the contact that Pitts wanted to retaliate just a little bit. You could see the wheels cranked all the way to the left and ended up sliding down through the infield.
Now, we saw this in heat race number 1 as well. A Delaware double file restart utilized by the Go Nuclear late models. A car in the front, and then two cars on back. I always think of it because Delaware is the first state, so the first car is alone.
And the leader of the race gets to choose which line they want to restart it all by themselves on the front row. Then the second place guy has to fall in line and so on and so forth behind him.
Boy, what a tough break for Phil Potts right there. Just got to bottom the car out, slid up the racetrack. That allows Beardsley in the number 18 to get a look to the inside, and Beardsley might just go right up to third here.
Yeah, it gets by Colton Lettingham, one of the local drivers. Beardsley, who had a win on tour last year, also had one back in 2012. Former World of Outlaw late model regular. So he has run a little bit more of the late model division. Caswell still leads Sopaz, but again, that key battle for the third and final redraw position, and they're 3 wide behind that.
And look who's coming up. It's Pitts again, who we just saw take the wild ride down through the infield. He is fast right now.
But not as fast as Dale Caswell, the winningest driver in series history, will score the heat race win.
Kyle Sopaz in second. Beardsley ends up in the final spot to get a draw, so Lettingham just misses out on that. 2 qualifying heat races are now complete. Let's hear from our heat winners so far. We've still got one more heat race to go. Let's hear from John Waters first.
You know, the track's great. You know, we just kept ourselves free and just tried to stay out of trouble. You know, I don't know how far we got the guys, but it was just fun racing track. I can't wait for feature time, and hopefully we can draw a good pill and get out there and do some racing.
You've never been here before, and now you've run some hot laps and you won a heat race. What's the verdict?
Oh, well, man, that track's fast. That's a fast little track, a lot of bite. You know, I think come feature time, we might have a chance. We're just figuring out these new tires, so we're going to give them all we got.
When you can hear, he's a little out of breath after this right there. And they did just switch to the new Rush late model tires, so a lot of the drivers are learning a new set of tires, which does change things. Qualifying heat race number 3, the final one is on the track.
And the gentle giant, Greg Bellier, on the front row, along with the 311 of Sam Panaccio. Panaccio, in his first career Go Nuclear late model start. Some of the other rookies in the field include Chris Fleming, but of course, as we saw in our first show this year from Can-Am, Fleming knows how to wheel these late models already.
A nice diversity of drivers with experience, drivers just starting in the late model ranks, and you look at the backgrounds of a lot of these drivers, very diversified as well, whether they ran IMCA modifieds, they ran sprint cars, or big block or small block modifieds.
Dale Caswell, a former IMCA modified guy, and you were just talking about Chris Fleming. He was the Northeast Regional Champ, 30 wins last year, but the IMCAs and late models, very similar with the suspension, so it's an easy transition to make as we watch the battle here for third.
And Panaccio gets into the side of Darren Peters. Meanwhile, for the race lead, Dusty Waters down to the inside of Greg Bellier, completes the slide job and put Waters, like his brother John, who won heat race number 1, in the race lead.
Well, that would be something. Both of them could get the win. We're watching now the battle for third. Still a pretty good one out of turn number 2. That's Charlie Sandercock down on the inside in the number 57, one of those guys doing double duty here today.
Sandercock, the defending series champion, was the winner of the first race of 2015 up at Can-Am. Darren Peters, a former front runner at the Humberstone Speedway, but does not run much. Took the ride over tonight from his son, Jordan, and he's up into 4th. Meanwhile, for 2nd, look at this rookie Panaccio to the inside of Bellier.
And this seems to be the portion of the Speedway where drivers are really able to make their move, carrying a lot of speed off of turn number 2 and diving down into turn number 3. Low side in 3 and 4 particularly looks to be where everybody's making the move.
Except for Charlie Sandercock. Yeah. You know, he's going to try to find any cushion any dirt track has available. He goes around the outside of Bellier, now goes after Peters for that 3rd and final coveted redraw position.
Didn't think that was going to work at first. It didn't work as well as 1 and 2, and look how wide he gets this time. Still trying to make it work as he's trying to get up into position number 3.
And look at the success that he has had over the years, Sandercock in that number 57. I mean, he's a veteran in this division and really not afraid to put it where others aren't able to go, and it's evident by the way he's working the top side. Very smooth through 1 and 2 that time.
And Panaccio in 2nd still as we watch right behind him with Darren Peters. Rich?
And, talking about Sandercock, a guy that comes in is kind of the favorite at every racetrack you go to. He's dominated at his hometown tracks of Brighton and Can-Am, his other weekly track, and won the tour race. So he's done a great job. But Dustin Waters, getting by the lap car, will pick up qualifying heat race number 3.
Panaccio and Peters, they'll get the redraw spots and a shot at the front of the field. So the qualifying heat races are now complete for the Go Nuclear late models. We've got a lot more to go on this special 2-hour edition. We'll be back with more of the Atomic Power Racing Hour. Planning a trip to Victory Lane? Let Atomic Chassis get you there. Atomic Chassis are built with a high attention to detail using superior parts from trusted manufacturers such as PPM, Winters, Bernheisel, Bilstein, All-Star Performance, Vulcan, and many more. With superior craftsmanship and materials, you know Atomic will last. And since each customer becomes a part of our family, you aren't treated like just another number. So visit AtomicChassis.com today to plan your next trip to Victory Lane.
I came to play. There's a price to pay. Time for you to get down on your knees and pray. You say goodbye to the good old days. They're never coming back. Watch your future fade. I came to play to get my dues paid. I guess you had a dream, but it can't be saved. I came to play.
Sick of staticky headphones you bought at the dollar store? Come to your senses and enjoy music once again. At Sense, we recognize that not one size fits all. It's your music. Sense believes it should be your choice in how to listen to it. Enjoy crystal clear audio with comfortable and fresh styles that suit you. Don't conform to the norm. Get what you want and listen with your senses.
Welcome back to Ohsweken Speedway in Ontario, Canada, the Triple Crown Showdown on a special edition of the Atomic Power Racing Hour track prep happening. Rich Fleck, Doug Elkins, Shane Andrews here in the booth with you.
Well, the Modifieds just completed their heat races, and here's a look at their 4 packed heat races in 2B mains. They start straight up based off a time trial, Shane, and that was good news for anybody that was quick during their hot lap sessions, Dale Plank being one of them.
And Pat Ward also in the 42P, the 49 of Billy Dunn as the Brandon Easy number 06 right there in position number 4. As Adam Roberts in that 63, first time here to Ohsweken along with a lot of guys on the moves, battling fellow Northern New Yorker Billy Dunn in the 49.
A pair of Watertown drivers, but it was Roberts kind of the surprise story throughout this qualifying heat race. Gets to Pat Ward here on the final lap and would get by him at the end. You know, it's kind of a good break for some of these drivers that maybe don't have as much modified experience going to a new track for the first time. He would get up to second. Plank would get the win, and we'd hear from him afterwards.
The track's in super shape right now. It was kind of deciding where to go, and just watching the other heats, I figured I'd start on the top, and I never really saw anybody right off the start, so just kind of hung with it. But it looked like there was going to be multiple grooves later, so we just got to stay on top of it. Unfortunately, winning the first heat is not really the best thing because the track's going to change so much, but the crew's made great calls so far tonight, so hopefully we can just keep it up.
Plank has not been running weekly this year, but he looked really good. Here is qualifying heat race number 2. Good battle for the lead between Matt Williamson and Keith Flack.
And Tim Kerr in that 07 out of Picton, Ontario, Canada. Keep our eye on him. Had a pretty good time in the time trial session and likes to run that bottom end and may have found something here in this heat race.
Yeah, and you had drivers just kind of searching around. We had talked about how it was a little bit of a surprise to see Williamson be the quickest in the time trials. Tim Kerr, a guy that runs Brewerton weekly, even though comes all the way from Canada, as you said, making that bottom lane work and made it stick on a track that's very fast. A lot of guys ringing the top. He goes down to the inside, gets by Matty Williamson, and gets into the race lead. And it would be Tim Kerr pulling off a pretty good upset to pick up the win.
Yeah, Kerr picked up his career first earlier this year at Brewerton. Now he wins qualifying heat race number 2. Let's hear from the Canadian.
Yeah, the car's awesome. We're a little tight in time trials and made a little shock change, and this thing come alive. Who knew on a track like this you could roll the bottom like that?
Qualifying heat race number 3. Next to hit the track, Billy Decker on the inside of the front row and young up-and-comer Eric Rudolph to his outside.
And this race was loaded with everything. I mean, when you come here and order fries, you get cheese and gravy on it. This one had about 8 guys that could win this race tonight, and including the guys in the front, Billy Decker and Eric Rudolph duking it out for the race lead.
Yeah, you have Stuart Friesen in the number 7Z. You have Matt Shepard in the 9H in this one. His teammate Jimmy Phelps in the 98H. And the 38 of Ryan Susi. Both Phelps and Susi, a tough night here, did not qualify. Peter Britton in the 21A right in front of them.
Billy Decker, the final lap as he works his way around. He would get the win in qualifying heat race number 3. We had a chance to talk to him about what he saw on the racetrack.
It's pretty fast, you know what I mean? And track's fairly smooth, but as fast as it is, it makes every little ripple accentuated a little bit. Hey, it's been wet out, so you got to expect a fast speedway.
And fast it is. Qualifying heat race number 4. Next to take the track, Chad Brockman on the inside, Brett Hearn up top as they start on lap number 1.
And you've got the Dr. Danny Johnson, and you've got the number 99L of Larry White in this one as well. But looking at here as Chad Brockman trying to fend off 8-time series champion Brett Hearn. Billy Decker said this track is fast and every little bump you feel accentuated. Watch that right there as Hearn, all 4 tires off the ground.
2 very distinct grooves, and if you hit that middle, sometimes it can get you jumping. Larry White had a little problem in time trials. This time was not allowed, but didn't mean he wasn't fast on the racetrack.
No, he had to fight back on the outside of the racetrack, kind of banging it through on the cushion, got up to 4th, but the top 2 would duke it out for the win. And Chad Brockman Yet another little surprise holding off Brett Hearn to pick up the win.
So Chad Brockman beats the multi-time series champion. The farmer from North Tonawanda checks in with us about the racetrack and what he just saw.
How much wrestling do you have to do in a car when a track is like this?
Well, the track's it's just a little bit choppy right now, but I really think the track crew is going to do their job and smooth it out, and I think it'll be good come feature time. For the most part, the car was pretty good. We made the right changes from time trials to now, so we're looking forward to just tweaking a little bit on it for the feature.
B mains are coming up. These are the cars that haven't qualified, and well, they had some work to do for these guys.
Yeah, 10 laps for to qualify, and Shane Pearson, that number 88, would lead the way. Pete Bicknell, Mr. Small Block, not too far down the street from Thorold, Ontario, Canada, giving chase as we watch the Randy Chrysler number 21K drift up the hill.
Being driven by Glenn Stiers tonight, and Glenn would have to try to get into that top 4 to qualify. First time in a big block modified, that's not an easy task for the Ohsweken Flyer. He would not transfer through this B main. Pete Bicknell would start to make it work on the bottom, though. He can get back by Shane Pierce into the race lead.
Bicknell down to the inside, and he's the guy who makes a lot of the chassis, who they race out there, and so he knows these cars pretty well. But like we said, normally in a small block, but Bicknell would hang on to get the win. So a good run for the Canadian there as he picks up the win in the first B main. Shane Pierce, Tyler McPherson, and Brandon Easy, they all get into the show. Second time for the drivers to try to get in, and Jimmy Phelps, remember, he had problems in his heat. He leads early in this one.
You know, in the consolation races, last chance qualifiers, it does two things. Number one, it gives you a little bit more seat time at a track you've never been at. Also, it gives you an opportunity to read the track as it gets a little closer to feature time to be able to make the adjustments that you need. So Jimmy Phelps, a good R&D test right here.
He had a good test, but a guy that had it figured out was Tommy Flanagan in the 37S. Gets into second a moment ago, and then you see him get by the 98H of Jimmy Phelps on the bottom of the racetrack. Guy had the track figured out.
Flanagan, of course, a privateer, runs Ransomville on Friday nights. A little bit of a surprise he's able to do that. Mike Bowman and Ryan Susie, though, they're battling for the final transfer spot.
Yeah, these final 3 laps would be wild to see, Shane.
Yeah, absolutely, because everybody wants to get into the show. And these guys don't have provisional starting spots. They don't follow the tour, so they need to get in. They need to race their way in.
And Susie and Bowman, they would be pretty quick, and they would both pull in on the Bill Bleach Senior 108. So third, fourth, and fifth, 3 guys going for 2 spots.
Bowman in the 71, the 38, that's Ryan Susie, and you can see how these slower cars definitely influencing the finish here.
Well, again, Bleach just trying to hold everybody off. He kind of had the slower car, as you were mentioning, and Bowman able to stick it like glue on the inside. Little rub rail action. Susie would try one last check on the outside as Flanagan got the win. Up the racetrack went Susie, and he would be on the outside looking in.
Let's hear from Paul with a track update.
As we get ready for the start of tonight's feature events, the track is winding down a lot more than it did during the heat races. And the track crews are out right now knocking down the cushion and packing it down, so there's a little extra room at the top of the racetrack. With the Core Pack Sprint cars running first tonight, they're going to reestablish that cushion, that ridge of loose dirt up at the top of the racetrack. They'll plant the right rear on it and fly around on this progressively banked surface. The lane models will tend to stay down more towards the bottom of the racetrack because they don't quite have the horsepower with the crate motors that the sprint cars do to carry up top. And then when we get to the final race of the night for the big block modifieds, they're going to be running down on the bottom and up on the top and maybe in between in the middle too.
Well, with all the qualifying heat races in the books, sprint cars are firing off on the push-off track, including Steve Collins, who will carry an onboard camera for us. Sprints will be the first of 3 divisions to run their feature with a 20-lap A main. It's sure to be a fast event, and it's coming up right after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Atomic Power Racing Hour, north of the border in Ohsweken in Ontario, Canada. The 20-lap Core Pack Sprint feature is next. The 4-wide salute to the crowd. We'll get things started. Doug Elkins in the booth with Rich Fleck and Shane Andrews.
You know, you got 3 big features tonight. This one's only 20 laps, and they're the fastest cars. This will be a very quick race. Steve Collins carrying one of our onboard cameras, and you've got some fast drivers on a very fast racetrack, Shane.
Every driver that we have talked to so far has said the same thing. Track is fast. I think this is going to be a dandy of a race.
Now, unlike some of the other divisions, single-file restarts will be the way as soon as a lap is completed. 23 drivers starting this race, with Mitch Brown, the current track point leader, alongside Dylan Westbrook on the front row.
See Todd Hoddick from Cheektowaga in row number 3. There's Steve Collins and Stuart Friesen driving his wife's car.
The top 8 drivers, were from the redraw. The rest of the drivers based on their passing points from there on back. So the redraw hands Brown the pole position, a guy that comes into the night, as I said, with the points lead and 1 win here at Ohsweken in 4 starts in 2015.
See how he does against 22 other competitors as we are ready to go green in this 20-lap A main. Mitch Brown on the bottom side of the racetrack, and the green is out.
And they fly by the start-finish line, and underneath Dale Schoenemann down into turn number 1. Up on the top of the racetrack, Dylan Westbrook gets good bite. He's into the race lead in a good battle, about 5th place. Todd Hoddick and Steve Collins, a pair of New Yorkers, duke it out for 5th as Westbrook will lead lap number 1.
Wow. Mitch Brown, Glenn Steyer's heavy contact there.
Wow.
Lucky they stayed on the ground there.
Boy, and those two do battle each and every Friday night here at Ohsweken, so I'm sure that they'll sort that out. I mean, it's a little bit of racing. It's early on. And, you know, in 20 laps, it's not a lot of time, especially in these 360 sprints, so you've got to make your moves early.
Boy, Stu Friesen is certainly doing that. He had the bad redraw, started back in position number 7, already up to 5th, getting by Mitch Brown. Good battle between Dane Nida and the Steve Collins 77 for position number 7. But keep an eye on Friesen. He's the guy that everybody kind of had their eyes on in the pit area today for this sprint car race, and he's showing why in the early stages.
This is what Steve Collins is not seeing. This is what's out behind him at this point. That's Nada that's right behind him there as we get a look at 3rd place down here in turn 1.
Really impressed with Todd Hoddick in that number 49, that black machine out of Western New York. Really making it work on the top side of the Speedway. Not afraid to ride that cushion. Albeit it's not a big cushion, but still not afraid to put that right rear sneaker up there and wheel it around the top.
And a good battle for 5th. Oh, Friesen's got a problem. Friesen up the racetrack.
Friesen pulling up high down in turn number 1, not quite a third of the way through this race, and he is going to roll to a stop. Well, while he does that, we had a chance to talk to his car owner, Jessica Zemkin, about what it's like with her changing role on the team this year.
It's pretty cool to be married to one of the best race car drivers in the Northeast. So when I couldn't race and we decided to start a family and to have the entire race team already set up, it just made sense and it was just perfect. You know, I got Core Pack merchandising on board and they've been with me for 5 or 6 seasons and they're like family. And so for Stuart to be behind the wheel of the car now, it's just a little bit different role for myself, but the team's still going to run as usual and looking forward to it. It should be a lot of fun.
Of course, the due date on the baby is Christmas Day, so Jessica will be back next year in the car, but Stuart gets a chance in the meantime to wield her car around the racetrack. Ready to go back to racing, Dylan Westbrook out in front as the green comes out.
And all single-file restarts the rest of the way for these sprint cars. There goes Steyer's looking for the lead down on the bottom, a pair of Ohsweken cars out in front, and Westbrook will hold him off.
Boy, if Westbrook holds off and beats the boss here tonight, any chance that he might get Employee of the Month?
Well, that wouldn't be too bad. First time in the 360 sprint car. This is unbelievable to see him leading to this point. But Todd Hoddick and Keith Dempster, 3rd and 4th, they're making a move.
How many times have we seen this before in any form of racing, in any division, when a driver jumps into a car for the first time and it's like, boom, the light switch comes on and the magic happens. This wouldn't be it would be big win for him, but it wouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
You know, he does have 3 career wins in a crate sprint car, which are run here on a weekly basis at Ohsweken. That's like a driver going from sportsman to big block modifieds and being able to pick up their first win. So it's definitely a good step, but he knows how to wheel this racetrack. He gets by the Zach Zumpy lap car, and Steyer's will do the same. Good battle for 3rd still.
And you know, really, if you're going to jump into a sprint car, a 360 sprint car from the crate for the first time, do it at a place that you are familiar at, that you're comfortable at, that you have a lot of laps at. that really helps with the transition and the adjustment.
But how about the lap traffic, Doug? It's getting dense.
It really is getting very dense at this point. And you can see he's getting by a Stan Zanekin there. And now they've got a battle shaping up for second place.
Yeah, Steyer still picking his way through the Chris Root lap car. Just a whole myriad of cars, and Hoddick barely got around that 69 of Chris Root. Should have been trying to get those lap machines to move and pick a lane. Westbrook, though, is just slicing through them, and he's about to get by Lee Winger and Tyler Hendricks, and if he does, he's got clear racetrack in front of him.
And you got to give the guys that are getting a lap down a little bit of credit too, because of the fact they're racing for position as well. So they're trying to protect their position on the speedway while the leaders are closing in on them.
And, of course, the big thing for the leader is to put lap cars between you and second place. And that is exactly what Westbrook is doing right now. Love the vapor trails off the roof, too.
It's
I
just
love those
awesome
off the wing.
Yeah. Well, it's been a humid day all afternoon, so vapor trails here at Ohsweken are not that uncommon when you have these conditions. Caution out. Zach Zumpy slowed on the front stretch. So Westbrook's lead will evaporate as Zumpy slows in turn number 1 and 2. Looks like he will be headed pit side.
Well, now a chance to reset everything, and we're going to check in with our Paul Small for this week's Tech Minute on Sprint Car Adjustability.
Each race car you're seeing tonight has a different way of adjusting for track conditions, whether it's a heavy racetrack, which is wet and tacky, or a slick racetrack that's polished off and starts to take rubber. For the drivers in the Super Dirt Car Series and the Go Nuclear late models, a lot of their setup revolves around what they can do with shocks, springs, and bars, like sway bars that are in the rear of the race cars. They can also adjust tire pressures if they want to. For sprint car racers in the Core Pack Sprints, much easier by just using this switch. This is a switch that controls the angle of the wing. It can move it forward and backward on the top of the roll cage. Move it forward, more forward bite. Move it back, more bite to the rear drive tires.
Lots of things they can do. Steve Collins might have been reaching for some of those switches right now as he's currently in number 6 spot.
It absolutely amazes me at speed that these drivers take a tear off heading down the backstretch into turn number 3, power slide it, mash the gas, and then they're making the wing adjustment as they're coming down the front straightaway. Always something going on in the cockpit of these race cars.
They say it's tougher to slide it forward when you're at speed because the car naturally wants that wing to push backwards. So typically they can't put it forward, but 6 laps to go. Can Westbrook hang off Steyr and the 49 of Hoddick? Steyrs is all over him as they go to turn number 1.
Steyrs will take the dip down low, the slide job. Will it work? Westbrook's going to try to get right back to the inside, but Steyrs has the lead, or does he?
Oh, he tried throwing the slider on the boss. It didn't work.
No, Steyrs will hold him off, but what a move by Westbrook. He's going to try it again. Gets into the rut down in turn number 1, and Steyrs will swing around the outside and take command of the race lead.
Just 6 laps to go. Can Steyrs pull away, or does Westbrook have something for him? This is going to be quite a finish.
Now, Glenn Steyrs is the winningest driver in sprint car history at Ohsweken with 27 career wins, but no wins so far this year here at his hometown track. He just got his first win overall at Brighton Speedway last Saturday.
Hoddick's closing in on both of them too, Todd. Hoddick's getting quicker, so maybe a wing adjustment while under caution helped the number 49 car.
And Hoddick's gone to the bottom, and usually you can go run the bottom. You want that wing to slide back a little bit more, seeing that he needs to run the inside group because the top 2 have been running the top. You got to go where they're not.
Just that simple sometimes, and that's what Hoddick is doing, although this time figures, what the heck, I might as well try it up there. I'm not going to make a move, and that didn't work, did it?
Not a bit, and Westbrook's actually closing back in on Glenn Steyrs, coming to the parallel sticks.
2 laps to go this time. The battle between the orange cars up front. That is Glenn Steyrs leading. Dylan Westbrook in second, and don't count out Todd Hoddick.
A 3-car scramble coming to the white flag. Westbrook hanging it right hard on the cushion.
Oh boy, get ready. This is going to be a good one. I like watching this youngster, Westbrook.
Westbrook goes up high. Steyrs blocks the line. Westbrook gets sideways and makes contact with Hoddick and will almost go over. Oh, and Mitch Brown comes around. Yellow is out.
Oh, just not what Westbrook wanted to have happen there. He goes from having a chance at a win to maybe ending his night in the pit area.
Yeah, it looks like front suspension issues broken on that 47. Such lightweight components on these sprint cars that weigh 1475 with the driver. Hoddick's right rear just slammed into the side. And I wonder what damage Hoddick has on his 49. Hoddick had hit him, but Westbrook went up and was really banging the cushion more than Steyrs was. Hey, he's going for the win. You got to give him credit for that. Absolutely.
Yeah, he wasn't going to just ride around and finish in second. Let's see what Steve Collins saw here.
I think everything checked up, and he got into the back in a points leader. Mitch Brown's going to have to go to the back.
Let's check in with Clinton. He's down with Dylan in turn number 2.
Dylan, you raced the boss hard, almost got away from you, but you got to be impressed with the drive tonight.
Yeah, we were going real good. Like, we had the top, like, I was last around the top, and I was leading for most of it. I thought I was going to win it, but had some bad luck, and what do you do?
Pretty good run for your first 360 sprint car event.
Some cleanup work still left to be done, so let's take a break. We will be back with the conclusion right after this.